Welcome back, everybody. It's time for a little two-wheel Tuesday, and 2020 is all about staying sane. For me, guys, I haven't been talking about this much, but I had to make a video telling you guys about my new latest obsession, and that is my new e-bike. Now, don't be surprised if you go into your favorite power sports, you know, Polaris, Can-Am, etc. dealership and start seeing these things. This trend is already really big in Europe, and it's really starting to take over here in the United States. If you guys have been following the channel for any length of time, you probably know that I'm a bike dork by trade. I started off as a bike rider at a young age and was fully addicted. Got into mountain bike racing, and now I kind of just mainly ride for fun and to stay fit. And that's never been more important here for 2020. You know, running a business, having a wife that works, 2 kids, and then with COVID happening, all the gyms shutting down, it's been really important to get out, burn some calories, keep your energy up. You guys know what I'm talking about, especially if you've got kids. Being sane in 2020 has been more challenging than ever, and this e-bike here has really done it for me, guys. I'm just over the moon excited. It's probably the most fun toy I've bought maybe ever, you know, as long as I can remember. So let's get into why I love this thing and why I think you should go get an e-bike. So before I go into a little overview of this e-bike and e-bikes in general, the topic of staying sane during COVID. So I know a lot of you guys have been out maybe purchasing your own gym equipment. Peloton bikes I've heard have exploded in sales, and honestly, all of us that are retailers in the outdoor category, our brand Chupacabra, we make side-by-side accessories, of course, we've all seen a big surge. And I think this is really because the game has changed this year, and that family trip to Hawaii or Disneyland is now canceled. So I think a lot of families said, hey, let's build that pool. Let's buy that new side-by-side. Let's go buy a new RV. Let's get the kids out of the house and buying some bicycles. And this is a trend I've been hearing everywhere. So thankfully, all of us in the outdoor category have benefited tremendously. So when COVID first happened, Specialized had just launched an all-new 2020 lineup, which this is what this is. This is a 2020 Levo Expert Carbon. And Specialized, one of the brands, they kind of hit the panic button. They started issuing some pretty hefty rebates. So combined with that rebate and my friends at Commencal Motorsports, one of the shops we sell our products with, got me a killer deal, and I decided to pull the trigger. Now, if you're like me, you've been biking for a while, chances are your eyes have been on these, especially since the technology's been getting better. And it's really just like the side-by-side market. It's like we always want to wait for the latest and greatest because we know the batteries are going to get lighter, the motors are going to get more powerful, the bike's going to get better and less expensive. But, you know, at a certain point, you want to jump in and have the fun yourself, or do you want to be on the sidelines? So with these rebates, with the gym closing, you know, and then also trying to use the potential to get my wife to ride it because she doesn't really pedal a whole lot, I decided to pull the trigger. And make no mistake, I gave my wife that sales pitch like it'd be her bike, but of course I bought it in a men's extra large size for me because I'm not about to buy a bike that's expensive and have it sit in the garage, I'll tell you that much. So there's a lot of brands that make some nice e-bikes, and I went with Specialized, and I've always been a fan of the brand. I mean, my mom had a Specialized Hard Rock back in like '88, so they've kind of always been around my family. They've always been a brand that's been integrated heavily in the cycling community, and you know, one of their slogans is innovate or die, and honestly I really do think they live up to that motto, because now that e-bikes have really started to hit heavy, well, they've invested heavily in this technology, and their motor and battery system is one of, if not the best in the industry at the moment. So the motor in this bike is called a Bros, and Specialized has 2 different battery size options. They have a 500 watt hour and a 700 watt hour. This is the upgraded model, which has a 700 watt hour battery. And just as a little idea, riding out here this type of terrain, pretty flat, I'm doing about 30 to 33 mile rides with about a quarter battery left. Like I said, under 2,000 feet of climbing. So that's just a, you know, one man's perspective. It's slippery. I'm about 200 pounds. And your battery life really varies based on how heavy you are and the conditions that you ride it. So this bike is carbon fiber. It's pretty pricey. The MSRP is about $8,250. And yes, that's a huge amount of money, I know, guys. So basically, if you're new to e-bikes, these are pedal assist bikes to where the power kicks in once you start pedaling. This requires a little bit different technique where you've always got to be pedaling to have your power, of course, if you're trying to make it up a steep climb, and you're more prone to hitting your pedals on rocks. But once you get used to it, it's manageable, and it tries to match the effort. Speaking of power matching the effort, Specialized has an app where you can kind of control the power. This has 3 different speeds: a trail mode, which is the middle, the turbo on top, and then a slower speed. So this is another nice thing. You can kind of pick, if you're out of shape, you can run it in 2 and 3 a lot, or if you got a big punchy climb, you can throw it up into the turbo mode to get up it. Or if you're feeling fit, you can bump it down to 1, or you're riding with guys who might not be on an e-bike. You can even go into the app and you can tune it to drop the power way down if you are riding with a lot of slow guys that don't have e-bikes. So pretty cool. And there's another app called Levo, can integrate the technology of the motor with your heart rate monitor and adjust it for you while you pedal if you want to set a target heart rate. So pretty cool technology, guys, and this is just the beginning. So a couple more particulars. This has a 1x11 drivetrain, which means it's got a single fixed gear in the front and 1 shifter with 11 gears in the back. I've got a dropper seat post, which is a total game changer. Don't mountain bike without one. And other than that, it's pretty simple. Most everybody knows how to ride a bike. It's really that intuitive. Make sure you charge it up. And then, like I said, you got your 3-speed, which you can play with as you're out on the trail, depending on your fitness level, the type of terrain you're going off, or hills you might be trying to climb. Now, I've been riding this bike for a good 200-300 miles. I have made a couple upgrades. First off, as I upgraded to some new tires. Now, Specialized tires that came on the bike, they were okay, but I've been a big Maxxis tire fan, and I bought these tires. They're called the Maxxis Asagi or Asagai. They were developed by a top racer named Greg Menard. I'm telling you, these are the best tires I've ever owned by far. Trust me. I bought these tires originally for a Whistler trip back in 2018. I rode these tires in slippery, rooty, rocky conditions up in British Columbia. They were amazing. Brought them out here. They're amazing. I bought a set for my regular bike. Just took those to Oregon. It's laughable how good these tires are. The only downside is they're soft. You can see my back tires already smoked, but you know, that's just what it is when you're riding out here in this rocky, slippery terrain in Arizona. These tires are really soft and grippy, but I'll gladly take it for how much traction. It's literally like Velcro. Moving on from the tires, the only other changes I made were I did update the dropper post. Now, Specialized has their own Ride Command dropper post. It was notchy. I didn't really like it. I ended up breaking it. It was covered by warranty, but I found a RockShox Reverb post, which is a post that I've used for a while and that I really like. So that post is nicer. It's more fluid. It's infinite adjust. Works really well, and they've gotten better over time. The old ones I used to break and blow up, but they've really kind of got them refined where they'll last a couple years before they need to be rebuilt, in my opinion. And most importantly, you guys know me, you know I love suspension. I can't just stick with the stock suspension. So this bike comes with a Fox 36 fork, which is an amazing fork, 150 millimeters of travel, so roughly 6 inches. Now, for $40, I bought a cartridge to bump the travel up to 160 millimeters. Now, 10 mils might not sound like much, especially if you're not a mountain biker, but it really makes a big difference. It rakes the bike out a little bit, so it feels better for aggressive terrain. And this fork has a Grip 1 Fox dampener. My other bike's got the higher end Grip 2 dampener. And this Grip 1, it really just blows through the stroke, especially on this bike, which is much heavier than a regular bike. This bike is about 47 to 48 pounds. The Fox 36 is really tunable. As you can see, I do have some compression adjustments still, and I have added some volume spacers that really just keep the fork up high in the travel so it's not bottoming harshly. As I'm riding this thing faster, getting some aggressive terrain, even little drop-offs, the stock fork just wasn't cutting it. It would go through the stroke and bottom out immediately. So really nice upgrade. And then of course, I couldn't upgrade the fork, so I'd upgrade in the shock. The stock rear shock was okay when you're not getting any air time and you're just cruising along, but once you get a little bit of air, the thing would bottom really harshly, and then you try to combat it by adding more air pressure. Then everything becomes stiffer and worse ride quality. So I upgraded to a Fox Float X2. This is my favorite rear shock. I have the same shock on my Santa Cruz Megatower regular mountain bike. This shock also has the ability to add some volume spacers, so you can have more ramp up. Essentially, once you get into some bumps and some travel, the mid-stroke travel works a lot better and it doesn't blow all the way to the bottom out zone as quickly. This has high and low speed compression adjustment. This also has high and low speed rebound adjustment, along with a lockout switch for climbing, which you don't really need on the E, but I love the shock. It's really tunable, and I'm running about 35 or 40 PSI higher in the shock than I would on a non-E bike. So far it's working good. I think I need to go stiffer. Again, this setup is much better than stock, and one nice benefit of this rear shock is the stroke was increased a little bit, 2.5 millimeters, and that equates to about 7 or 8 more millimeters of travel. So this bike came stock with 150 millimeters of travel. Now I'm 160 in the front, 157, 158 in the back. So another little reminder, Specialized took all their 2021 Levo models to 160 in the fork as well. So Just goes to show you. Even Specialized saying, yes, these 160s are what riders want. Other than that, I've just been riding it, and I'm gonna get into some on the bike footage here. I had to sit down and get my GoPro in the shade. It was starting to overheat. So let's get into the top 3 reasons why you need this e-bike. First and foremost, it's great for your mental well-being and fitness. If 2020 has taught us anything, we need to stay sane. We need to be productive. We need to try to work through this new reality, especially us parents that have kids in the mix, which makes it very difficult with schools being canceled. Getting out, blowing off some steam, getting out in nature is just a great thing for all of us. I think this year has really taught us that, maybe more than anything. I love getting out in nature. I tend to have really creative ideas for how to run the business better, content ideas, that type of thing, and can't recommend it enough. So this e-bike is great for those of you that maybe never biked, or maybe you have and you just got out of shape, life catches up to you. This enables you to come off the couch with so much less pain. You can go out and you can have good rides, you can build your fitness up, you can hang with your buddies who are a lot more fit than you, join those group rides that you maybe feel like you can't hang anymore, you don't want to be the last guy holding everybody up. This is a great reason to consider buying an e-bike. So I've been a long time biker, and before I got the e-bike, I was working out at the gym a lot to try to burn some stored fat. And one thing I've noticed personally is when you are riding the e-bike, your heart rate tends to be a lot lower. I'm in the 130 to 140, 45 range compared to my regular bike where I'm 160 to 175. So not only can you ride longer, you're fresher after a ride, but I've noticed personally I burned a lot more stored fat staying in that lower stored fat burning heart rate zone. So that's another nice perk that I think is not only something for me that I think will help most of us out there. Number 2, this just makes mountain biking more fun. Let's just call it what it is now. Like I said, guys, I've been riding my whole life. I've been racing. I've been fortunate enough to be able to ride in a ton of really fun spots. Whistler, British Columbia being the best. I've ridden there 5 times. I've ridden in Santa Cruz when I lived up in Northern California quite a bit. I've kind of been all over the West Coast, including Moab, Mammoth, Park City, all those type of places, Big Bear a ton. And when you do get to ride all of those places, your everyday average rides start to get really boring, especially here in Arizona when it's hot and it's slippery. And it's really hard to keep that motivation. And honestly, before I had the E, I built up my Santa Cruz, which is honestly a dream bike. It's amazing, but I kind of went through a burnout phase where I really just wasn't riding it that much. So this has really reignited my fire for biking. And as that goes back to the first point about, you know, fitness, if you're going to buy a Peloton or you bought something like that during the pandemic, as we all know, maybe you guys have fallen into something like CrossFit. And if you get into something that you enjoy or a group's doing it, you're going to do it more. It's going to be a better use out of your money. You're going to be fitter. You're going to be happier. Everything about life is going to be better. So that's another great reason to consider one of these. It takes average trails, it makes them extra fun. You'll see some footage here as I start talking. An average trail can be sped up a few miles an hour. I've got room in the tank to go explore and find new trails. It's just really awesome, and it's more enjoyable than a regular mountain bike on a lot of flat terrain. All right, guys, reason number 3 why you should buy one of these e-bikes is extending your range and your capabilities. Now, this turbo Levo has about 4 times human power. There's some cool YouTube videos of average fit guys racing against top fit cyclists on a regular bike. Check those out if you're into it. But the beauty of this thing is I've been able to ride from my house and explore these trails, longer rides. I'm exploring new turnoffs and stuff that I wouldn't have had the energy or time to go hit, which makes it awesome. You can take this thing maybe down and go grab some lunch with it, where a regular bike maybe you wouldn't. You know, it's good if your family members to get them into riding, maybe get your wife into it, or if you're out of shape, like I said, this really helps you jump back into the cycling lifestyle. And you can take this camping. A lot of you guys go take your side-by-sides camping, you know, awesome places like Moab, like Southern Utah, like Mammoth Lakes during the summer. And there's a ton of good biking around all these spots, guys. So make your vacations more enjoyable. Doesn't take up that much space. You're already going to go to these destinations. These landscapes are also built for mountain biking, and the e-bike just makes it more accessible to a lot more people. All right, I'm going to jump back on the bike and get some more footage, just show you how much fun this thing is out here on my local trails. Check out our website, chupacabraoffroad.com. If you haven't heard of us, we make side-by-side accessories. You can follow us on social at Chupacabra Offroad. We'll see you next time. It's so nice having this power, just so you kind of keep out of your reserves and keep your heart rate down, you know? I can make it up all this stuff on my regular bike. It's really fun to go over it a few mile an hour faster. And then of course, taking not near as much energy, so you're fresher on the downhills, You get to cover a lot more terrain. Love it. The weight of this bike, this thing's like 48 pounds. Here's turbo mode. See if you're starting to get tired. Pump it up in turbo mode for little punchy risers like that. And you're on point. But the weight of this bike is so nice out here for this slippery, loose dirt of Arizona, where that's how it is, of course, 99% of the time, unless you're lucky enough to go riding right after a rain. Bike feels really, really stable. Oh, trail ended. Okay, stuck in a sand wash. Normally I'd be walking, but there you go. With the E, you just power up out of it. This is one of my favorite trails. Really fun on a regular bike, but it's gonna be extra fun on the E. So whistling around this sketchy drop off. Drop. All right. Whoa. I definitely think if you're a rider who doesn't have much confidence going downhill, the E will really help you. Obviously, you gotta manage a heavier bike. You're going faster. It's much more of an upper body workout. I think it'll help most people's handling quite a bit. I'm gonna punch in the turbo gear because I'm already wheezing. Back down. Whoa! It's dry out here, man. And get over these rocks, because to me this is pretty smooth and flowy for most of the Arizona stuff I've ridden, which is why it's one of my favorite spots. Hawes over on the east side's fun and flow, but the biggest change coming from California is these trails just don't flow like California in a lot of ways. I know it's a generalization, but definitely something I felt riding a lot of these trails really seem to be set up for hikers, and right, the rocks are so gnarly they can't really move them like big wide arcing corners. So like these tight 180s that are just really, really tight to keep your speed up on any kind of bike. It's just kind of lame, and it kind of slows you down. So as you can tell, man, like this is just really adding a lot more fun to my daily routine. So I'm lucky enough I can ride from the front door, and this is like a gym exercise for me, and doing what I absolutely love. Getting out in nature, no cars to hit me. Oh, here's a big boy. I'm in turbo for this. It's just laughable how easy that is. I don't think I could have made that on my regular bike on my best day. That's why I'm so smitten with this. As you guys can probably tell by now, I just love dirt. Everywhere I go on vacation, I'm just like thinking, what's the optimal experience? I'm not gonna go to Sedona without pedaling, even if it is a razor trip. I'm not gonna go to Moab without trying to pedal, or even bring my moto, ride some of that slick rock. Never gets old, man. And this goes into like the style of trail running I really like in the Razor, just single track, tight. Anybody can just go fast on a fire road, but you know, having some elements, whoa, makes it really, really fun for me. And a few things I enjoy more than some single track. So anything in the terrain is kind of like that in a Razor, you've really got to be heads up. I love, man. This reminds me of this. Obviously by now you can hear me panting, and like I said, I don't know if I'll be able to clear this whole section at my current fitness level on my regular bike. So rad. I'll just go up and do it again.